Hi, guys. Welcome back. We are going to talk about today what happens, a huge issue that is happening in the world today, but it's not has to do with things. Can be for anyone. Let's talk about anxiety and depression. I'm more of a master of anxiety. Lem, what do you have on your plate when it comes to speaking about anxiety and depression? Which again, I think everybody has it.
Yeah,
I just don't know how you need to learn how to deal with it.
I think it's because nowadays it's like they are giving the child its name. Back then they used to say like something's wrong with this person, but nowadays it's like you have clinics for it, you have therapists for it. Now we know what anxiety is, now we know what depression is, we know what like mental health nowadays just has it's being taken more serious. I
Well,
think
they
I'm more of an anxiety person than a depression, and like sometimes a little bit of panic attacks, but not severe.
well, true. Well, and there's all different levels of that also,
Of
because
course.
I'm going to go back to the 80s when this wasn't even a word, anxiety,
Yeah.
depression. There was nothing going on, and I when I look back on it when I got older and realized what it is and how every person on the planet has it.
Yeah.
But I was in grade school when I had my first panic attack, but it wasn't a full blown panic attack
Mm.
as what I have experienced as an adult or what you have experienced as adult,
Yeah.
but it was a panic attack when I was only 12. And it's just like back then, even in the 90s, would you say in the 90s they even talked about these things?
No, honestly, not even. Like
I don't.
even back in school and stuff, we never no one ever really said like, okay, depression was more of a term that was, getting introduced, let's say, or being used. But anxiety and panic attacks that were like more, like something is wrong with this person. It's not like, okay, this person, like, this is something normal,
Like you're diagnosed, like people, you weren't diagnosed as
Not at
having
all.
anxiety and depression. And it's just like, I am diagnosed as being having anxiety.
Mm,
I am not diagnosed as having depression because they are two different things, but a lot of them go hand in hand.
yeah. Back then they used to say it's just in your head when you have depressions, for example, or you're just, something's wrong. Yeah, it's just in your head. Why are you so sad? Like,
Yeah.
like,
Well,
excuse me, why aren't you rich? Like,
people still say that to this
Yeah,
day.
that's true. That's true. But now it's
It's
more like frown upon, like, what the F? No, it's not just in my head. Like, nowadays there's more studies about it. So back then it was just like, oh, this person X, yeah, they just like, it's in their head. Like, they just need to get out, be around people, and we're like, no, this is
oh,
exactly
exactly.
what I don't want to.
Or go exercise, go do this,
Yes,
go do that. And that's my anxiety came to a full fledged, starting to understand stuff when I was married throughout the 90s
yeah,
into the early 2000s when I still didn't know what my issues were because they weren't being talked about as they are to, I would say, what, in the last 15 years, maybe,
yeah,
like what this is. And so many now kids are coming out as, and when we were kids, it was like, just deal with it. Like you said,
exactly.
go for a walk, do this, do that.
Yeah,
It's all in your head. And that was part of my marriage that I bring to the table was my anxiety. And when your partner does not know how to deal with you
Yeah.
when you have anxiety, it makes it so
Difficult.
much worse.
Yeah, that's true.
So much worse. And that's when I started to realize this is not normal.
Mm.
I'm having these anxieties, and which my ex would play off of them and make it worse. Like I would be nervous. An example. Okay, I'm gonna example, as you would say. An example would be we're going somewhere and there is a directions, okay?
Yeah.
And this was even before we had Google Maps and all this
Yeah.
stuff. And I would print something out and I we would have a map. And the second he would want to turn off and go a different way, to say if there was traffic and he wanted to go off road or go a different way that I did not see on the map, I would lose my mind.
Mm.
That is anxiety. And then what he would do was get mad at me and make it worse
Oh.
by not just does that make sense?
Yeah,
Do
it
you
does.
understand what I'm? So it's just like things like that. That is anxiety in a person. I see my map. I know where I'm going.
Yeah.
You just took me off of my map. I have no idea where we're at. That causes extreme anxiety.
When
And
you're
when you
not
have
in
a partner
control as
that
well. Like you knew exactly like
true,
which road to go. You were somehow like a bit in control of it. And him drifting off the map, it's more like you're not in control anymore in
yeah.
this regard.
And that happened a lot, and it would lead into arguments
Yeah, of
and
course.
fighting because I didn't know that. Why am I freaking out over something as not, just let's stay on track, do
Yeah.
not do this, or it was ever, and it is, I guess you're right, it seems like it's something like you're in control,
Mm.
and you lose that control. It's like when you have these anxieties, you have to learn to work with the person,
Yeah.
to what I mean, to
Yeah.
help them not trigger you, because isn't that a big word
Exactly.
nowadays?
Yes.
Trigger.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody gets triggered by something.
I mean, we have to put it
Everybody.
in the title, like trigger warning, because this might trigger
Yeah.
people. Like, it's a very serious
Mhm.
topic, and people that might be having anxiety or panic attacks or, anything in this regard might feel like this topic is triggering to them. They don't want to hear about it because it might open up wounds or whatsoever, and they might be battling. So, I mean, yes. See, that's the thing. Like, now we're getting deeper into mental health and how important it is. And kids should also know about it. Like, because even kids can be depressed, kids can feel down, kids can have panic attacks. And to just brush it off is not the right way. And this is how it used to be in the past. Like, things were just always
Exactly.
brushed under the carpet, like, well, whatever. This child is like, you know
You'll be fine. You'll be
they'll be
fine.
fine. It's the kid is just being a kid.
Mhm.
But eventually this kid turns out to have like severe types of depression or anxiety attacks or even panic attacks, and then it sometimes is already a bit too late to treat this, because it's like, can you say, like a chronic form you know
Well, it's better, I think, the younger you are.
yeah.
But then, as people ourselves, we push things off also. Hello, I am the queen of procrastinating and going to a doctor and getting help. And because it's a form of my anxiety,
Yeah.
I don't, it's like, what am I going to do when I go to the doctor? What he's going to say? You
Yeah.
play these things over and over in your head again. And you do that too, don't
Yeah.
you? It's like you can play this over in your head 100 times.
That's
And
true.
if one thing goes wrong or is,
Yeah.
like something
Exactly.
like end of the world, I'm done.
Yeah.
And it's just like and then over the years I started seeing instances. I would go, I had another issue, which could be for many people. Um, I my ex would always be like, He wanted to be healthy and go to the gym and do these things. I have I can't go. Right now I'm literally rubbing my hands together when I start thinking about this. It makes me anxious.
Yeah.
I cannot physically work out in front of people.
Mm.
Even when I was younger, as a thin, good, woman in my late teens and my early 20s, I even have a friend that could vouch to this, where I had to walk out
Yeah.
because I felt everybody was watching me. And come on,
Yeah.
who hasn't had that? Who
Yeah.
hasn't
That's
had
true.
that feeling? But it's all on how you react to it.
Mm.
And people with anxiety, you know, and then I
Yeah.
remember we would go to the gym, and there was times I would sit in my car and have a panic attack outside of the gym
Yeah.
because I couldn't get myself to get out of the car to go into the gym.
Yeah.
And people always just say, well, it's in your head. It's in your head. Really? I think there's something else going on here,
Yeah.
you know?
That's
But,
true.
and then I finally went to get help. And this is when I'm what, in my 30s now?
Mm.
What are you going to do? So, and that's when I was able to go to a counselor. I am on medicine for anxiety. And it's just like, and it's not like you said, what should we say, shamed?
Yeah. People feel ashamed
Hmm.
to say like they're seeking help or they are going to a therapist or a counselor because I don't know, like I've heard it before. They think people will think of them as weak, which is
Yeah.
not the case. I think it's very strong and courageous to be aware and to admit that they need therapy or they need to seek a professional. I mean, we see it, for example, on Twitch. How many times do people come in the chat and they tell us about their problems, about their depression and their anxiety? And again, like when we do ASMR, we want to relax the people. We want to have like this cozy and
Chill vibe.
relaxing and chill vibe and atmosphere. But again, we are not therapists. We're not professionals. We cannot help when someone has, for example, suicidal thoughts. I I'm not in a position to know what exactly I should be saying, you know? And because I'm not a professional. Like I can only say like seek help, etc., or talk to someone, there's phone numbers, call them, talk to them. But then again, you're not in any position to say, okay, I know what I want to say, I can help this person out. No, we will end up having a burden on our chests that like we cannot forgive
And I've
ourselves when
seen
we say
it.
something wrong.
I have seen people come in saying they're suicidal. It's happened in your streams,
Yes.
and it's happened in other streams before. And then you just go, is this serious? And that's what's
Yeah.
hard to understand. Is this person being very serious, or are they coming
To
just to
troll.
get the attention
Exactly.
and troll? And it's just like, it's not funny
No, it's
because there's
not.
so many people out there. They're
Exactly.
like this, and I think they need the push to go get help,
Yeah.
because it was like it took me all this time, and then to be divorced, to
Yeah.
be like, you need to go talk to someone, get out of your system everything that, and it's someone who's not judging you,
Yeah.
who, and I hate that people say, oh, we can't afford it. There are so many things now online. Just like me, I don't want to leave my house. You can sit now on your couch and get a counselor on your phone.
Yeah. That's true.
I mean, these are things, it's getting so much easier to find help,
Yeah.
and to seek help. And then if you need medication, you work with, sometimes it's a psychiatrist or sometimes that's your family doctor.
Yeah, that's true.
And I work with my family doctor now.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't been with a counselor lately, but I even think it's great for children.
Yeah.
I will be having an 18-year-old pretty soon who has a lot on his chest, who would not mind
Yeah.
talking to a counselor.
And that's the important thing because when you look at our generations, it's still like a taboo for especially men to
Yep.
admit that they have, let's say, problems, or they need to seek a counselor, or a professional, because that's the stigma of like men are not supposed to show weakness. And um in our generations it's like there's a weakness, like when a man shows emotions, like he's weak.
Mm.
No, he's not weak. Showing emotions is normal. We're humans. This is being strong, like even men should be allowed to show emotions and admit that they have problems and they need a therapist, or someone, like to talk to. And this is the problem. So I think it's very important that we teach our children, especially our sons, for example, that it's okay if you cry. It's okay to show emotions. You are not weak just because you're emotional. You're not weak and should feel embarrassed if you need to talk to someone because you have things on your chest. So we need to get rid of that stigma,
And what
especially.
did you had said something earlier today to me, and it was about um, anxiety and how sometimes it does come from traumatic events
Yeah.
that have happened in childhood. And then I see it. I was talking with another friend earlier today, as we can see it too. It is genetic.
Yeah.
These are, it can be. I will be 100% honest. I did not have anything traumatic happen to me as a
Mm.
child. I did not have things to lead into my anxiety.
Mm.
Mine was brought on through genetics,
Damn.
through my family, through my father,
Mm.
and you don't want to say you blame your adult, but then look at your children and then you see some of the anxiety you have given them because it's in you.
Yeah.
It is in your makeup. It is in your, what is it? In your gene.
And Eugene.
I mean, I can't say what, yeah, it could happen to anyone, is what I'm saying. But so many people do have things that have happened in their lives also
Yeah.
that bring on these tragic things that have happened to them. And again, we aren't doctors. I'm just speaking from my experience,
Exactly.
from as a child, not knowing why these things were happening or why I was having these feelings,
Yeah.
to being the adult going through marriage having these feelings and still not fixing them, to having to, you know,
Mm.
be divorced to actually find out why I am the way I am.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I just hope, you know, we need people to want to be able to help themselves.
Yes. Don't struggle alone. You're not alone. There's always someone that can help you. So it's important to be aware of that and conscious of that.
Lemmy, is there anything, that triggers you? Because I mean, we talk, you work well with me. I've always appreciated when something's bothering me and I can just come to you and spew it out, because it's hard. Some people with anxiety, right?
Yeah,
Don't
that's
I
true.
tell you I'm about to spew,
Yeah, I
and
know.
you laugh at me. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm about to spew. And you don't ever, you're not judgmental. And I've learned over the years to not judge anybody.
Yeah,
It's
that's very
it's hard.
important.
The way I grew up, it's different, and I've again, everything after my marriage, I've realized so many different things in life and have such a different outlook on life.
Yeah.
Um, do you have anything that triggers you? Because I know you have anxiety, but I tend to freak out more than you do. You can,
Mm, I think I have
I
more
mean,
like panic attacks, and those come mainly just at night, unless something happens during the day. But like when you're in bed, like for some reason my brain is wired in a weird way. You start imagining like weird scenarios or whatever, like things that happen, and then you start having like those panic attacks for no reason. You're just actually in bed trying to sleep, and then you think of things, you know? And I know that there's lots of people that have that. I did talk to a few people that have those types of panic attacks, especially at night as well.
Well,
Um,
that's when it's the worst because you're at peace and you're in bed and you're
exactly,
quiet and
exactly.
your brain goes because all day you're busy. Hello,
Yeah,
you're busy
it's
with
true.
the girls. I am Miss Chauffeur. Your mind is doesn't have the time.
Yeah, that's true. Exactly. Um, yeah, so I think it's less anxiety for me, more of like panic attacks, and I did have like PTSD from a few things that happened in life. But those again, like I was never, what do you say, diagnosed of that, like
Mhm.
like never really medically or something. It's something like I try to work with myself, like deal with it in my way.
Yes, your way.
Because again, like it's not something you would probably need medications for. You don't want to take someone's place at a therapist, for example, where a person might need that spot more urgently, you know? So,
Well, when it affects your when you look at it, when it affects your everyday life,
no,
that's when, well,
I
that's what
don't
I'm
think
saying.
so.
I think that is when you need to seek help.
Yeah,
And I was
true.
being affected daily with this. And I
Yeah,
still have issues. What happened
I
yesterday?
know. I know.
What did I say? And you had to calm me down by scratching a microphone.
I know.
I mean, it was like, and I'm sitting here like I'm about to lose it. I was breathing in almost into a panic attack, but I've been able to try to control that now
Yeah,
because I learned from a therapist tools. There is help, and that's why I think people think too it's useless. There's no way in getting help.
yeah,
You can because I mean I still can be a basket case at times, but it's so much better than how I used to be. But again, homebody, I would rather stay home than,
yeah,
go out,
yeah, true.
which goes into the social aspect of it, right? And
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying that you usually, but anxiety, do you think it got worse after having children?
Yes.
Or do you think you've always had, you know, this underlying
Um,
as a teenager yourself?
I think at start, like let's say back then during school or even during university, the anxiety I had was like very, very like something I would say something low, something small, more like
Just
this type
there. It
of
was underlying.
anxiety
Underlying.
of you don't want to be standing in front of the class and telling your project or whatever, you have this anxiety of standing in front of everyone and everyone's looking at you. So I never really liked that. But
Hmm.
with time I started to like deal with it in a way, and now I wouldn't mind, I guess. Like a teacher
Really?
once
Who sits in front of a camera?
see,
Huh?
exactly, like that streaming helped me definitely.
Yeah.
A teacher once
Hmm.
told me, one of my professors actually, when you're standing in front of everyone, just imagine like no one is looking at you, everyone is busy, and they're all dumb. He actually said that. They're all stupid. They don't know what you're going to be talking about. So you stand there. You're the one that knows what you're talking about. You know your material, and you tell them everything you want to tell. Your project. And like, at first you're like, okay, and you know how school is, etc., and university, like, you know how it is. So with time, it started to be like something. You do it over and over and over. You play it in your head, and then you just start blabbering. you
Well,
know?
yeah. Well, haven't you ever heard the other thing too? Picture the crowd in their underwear, or picture that. Have you never heard of
No,
that?
no, no, no. I never. I never heard of that.
Are you serious? That's like such a common thing
Really?
here. And that was what I think that was an episode of the Brady Bunch, to be honest. And they had to do something, and they're like, picture the people in their underwear, and it was like for a play or something. And it's just
Okay.
so it calms you down or makes you giggle and relaxes you. You
Mm.
know, that look at how silly they look. You'll
Yeah,
be
that's true.
fine. And that's anxiety. I mean, I remember even kids thinking about it in grade school. One of the boys would have a crying panic attack when he'd have to get up to read something.
Mm.
I will never forget that because he was the sweetest kid too, and he would literally lose it and he would have to leave the classroom because
Oh,
he had a panic attack. So this, I
damn.
said, these things have been happening for so long. I'm just
Yeah.
glad that we can get help now.
Yes.
Um, you have to take control. That's how I have been,
You have to
you
take the
know,
first step. That's the thing.
exactly. Again, I'm not a doctor. You don't have a PhD, right, Lem?
No. And it's definitely not in psychology.
Yeah, you just have your, wait, you do have a master's though, don't
Yeah.
you?
But it's like the total opposite of psychology.
She,
I mean,
she is the master of things. No, sorry, I had
master
to
of
throw that in.
disaster.
We just, I know. I mean, we've been having a little bit more serious topic now. We're usually crazy and
Yes.
giggly, but these are things that everybody deals with. And we figured, why don't we do, let's talk about anxiety because I deal with it
Yeah.
daily, but I'm much better, than I used to be. Let's say that.
Yeah.
But I
That's true.
think, I hope this might have helped anyone who's listening. If you want to share something with us, please do.
Don't feel ashamed to admit
You
and
know,
seek help.
yeah, it will do nothing but help
Help
you.
you.
It would
Exactly.
not hinder you at all.
Yep.
It does not hinder at all. It will help, no matter if it's a doctor or matter if you end up on something.
Yep.
Because let me throw this in. So many people I know have taken medicine
Mm.
to help with anxiety or depression, and they said they don't like how they feel.
Damn.
But it's just like, how can you, and then they just stop it. They're just like,
Oh.
oh, I don't like it. I don't like how it makes me feel, so I stop it.
Yeah.
It's not just one, I
Yeah.
was on, I don't know how many different things before I found something that helped me. So thank you everybody for coming. This is our 12th episode.
Thank
Can
you
you
for
believe that?
joining.
Thanks a lot, guys, for hanging with us tonight. Don't forget, hit the bell, give us some likes, leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll see you next week.
Bye
Thanks.
bye.